Welcome back to The Watch and Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, the sequel that I don't think anyone was asking for, but it's here because it seems like Hollywood cannot think of anything original and they have to go back to either making prequels, sequels, or reboots, or whatever. And so par for the course is what's happening with Hollywood. Now we have a sequel to Beetlejuice. Now, I don't particularly remember Beetlejuice having such a significant, massive impact that a lot of people were interested or even calling for, a follow-on to that story. The story felt mostly concluded, but here we are. We now have Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. And it was basically boring to bad. Nothing really interesting happens in a significant way, where the first Beetlejuice had an interesting type of charm to it and a bit of a juxtaposition kind of concept where usually people want to get rid of ghosts in their home. Well, Beetlejuice was the idea that ghosts wanted to get rid of the living people out of their homes, and Beetlejuice was the character that they ended up, getting to help. And he was like a living, I forget the exact term they used, but he would exorcise the living out of the places where the ghost wanted to hang out. And so that is an interesting kind of quirky concept. Combine that with the dark yet comedic kind of depictions of how afterlife and death and stuff like that made Beetlejuice an interesting enough film. The sequel basically has none of that. There's no real core primary concept like that. It's just kind of following along the characters, some of which are from the first film, of course, the daughter and the mum. The dad of the first film, he's not coming back because even though they actually kind of have him there, yet not, but the actor who played the dad is a convicted sex offender. And so, he's not going to be coming back yet. At the same time, they certainly devote a decent amount of attention to the dad because he's dead now and he's in the afterlife and people are all mourning him and all that stuff. The two ghosts from the first film, which really are the central characters of the first film, they're completely gone. They're not there. It's all around the daughter. And then, of course, we have Beetlejuice as well. And what's really odd about this sequel, the sequel that is entitled Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, his involvement in the primary plot is actually a bit tangential. He has a goal that he wants to achieve, yet that's actually not the primary plot of this film. The primary story is focusing around the daughter of the first film. And I don't even know their names because I don't really care. Because this film ultimately, because it gets lost in what the story that it's trying to tell, it has a primary story focusing around the daughter of the other daughter, right? And then Beetlejuice is serving a more tangential side role, yet he has two kind of things that are involved with him that one of them is completely disconnected, okay? This ultimately results in a film that doesn't know what it's trying to do. And as a result, it's not like so terrible it's offensively bad, like as we've seen from recent kind of films and whatnot. It's not like The Last Jedi. It's not like The Marvels. It's not like Rings of Power. And so in that sense, you can consider it just inoffensively boring to bad. So nothing particularly, shattering or impressive. And I didn't laugh once in the film if it's supposed to be a comedy. Beetlejuice is supposed to be this really, exaggerated personality, crude, comedic kind of character. But nothing really lands in it. And so, as a result, no, I don't recommend the film. Some people might, if you are really attached to that first Beetlejuice and you're desperate to see him again doing kind of mostly irrelevant stuff to the plot, you might get some enjoyment out of it. Outside of that, I don't see a purpose or a point to the film, and I didn't get much entertainment value out of it. There are certain aspects that are definitely in the film that you can get an idea that comes from a more progressive, woke kind of perspective. They certainly mention and celebrate feminism one or two times in it, and climate change, and, masculinity bad, and there's certainly those elements there. I don't think there was. Oh no, that's kind of where it is. That is a bit of lip service. There's, a message about that they miss there are two dads that are out of the picture, but they both miss them. And one dad seems like he wasn't the worst, but he wasn't the best. But the thing is, though, the mum, she's a complete drop kick of a mum anyway, and so it's not like they're depicting only men bad. It's like, no, I mean, most of them are, kind of stupid. Even the daughter, which is really the central character, the main character, and the primary conflict focuses around her. There's nothing actually endearing about her, interesting even. And that's another big reason why the movie falls flat. Another thing that's really odd about this film is, so separate, next to the daughter, the other primary character, of course, is the mum, who was the daughter of the previous film. And she is a completely different character to who she was in the first film. The first film, she was a goth, unfazed, interested by the supernatural, and nothing could really faze her, right? Where in this film, she is a nervous wreck that's afraid of Beetlejuice and monsters and other things, and she is taking pills, she's getting manipulated by an abusive partner. She's not even a shadow of her former character. This isn't the same character at all. And it's like, did they even watch that first film? Beetlejuice seems mostly in character. The mum of the mum, and so she was the mum in the first film, and the daughter is now the mum. I don't remember the names. She's back, the bad artist who is now a remarkable artist, and I can kind of go along with that because her art hasn't improved, but people's tastes have disintegrated so much to the point where they do think her crap is fine art. And I was like, I could probably agree that that's the state of modern art these days, so sure, fine. She's back. And not a major role, but she's involved with what's going on with the other characters. But like the primary characters is the new daughter and the now mum, who was the daughter of the first film. But again, they really miss the target with those characters. And that's kind of it. Where in the previous film, right, the parents of the... Sorry, I guess, which parents? The dead parents? No, the alive parents. The parents in the previous film, right? They were selfish, okay? And it was hard to scare them because they were so nihilistic and exploitative, and they thought they could make it an attraction out of ghosts and stuff. And that kind of had a good contrast to the actual ghosts who were normal people. You don't really get any normal people in Beetlejuice to get a significant enough kind of contrast. And so these are my overall impressions and views about Beetlejuice, this sequel that no one asked for. And I will be getting to spoilers, but I would give this a pretty flat 4 out of 10, maybe 3. And upon reflection, that might change. Like, I was so disinterested in the film, I couldn't even summon enough, brain power to pay attention really closely to all the minutiae of what's going on in the plot, even though there are some pretty dumb moments that the plot uses to try and resolve certain things. A big criticism, for this film is the fact that the title character Beetlejuice is serving such a tangential separate role of the film. It's almost like tacked on, And like I said, the film focuses around the daughter, and you'd think it would have a bit more of a focus on Beetlejuice. Now, granted, Beetlejuice was, you could consider almost a side character of the plot in Beetlejuice 1, yet his involvement upends the, what the ghosts were trying to do and stuff like that. And so you can see why it was titled Beetlejuice in the first one. But this one, not really. There is an entire subplot regarding his ex-wife, which is nearly completely detached to what's actually going on in the main plot, and it's get resolved in a really flat way that you could cut it entirely from the film and nothing really would change. Yet they focus on her at some points like she's a big threat, but then it gets resolved in such a pathetic, wet way. And like I said, barely any impact at all. Really, no impact at all to the central plot that's focusing around the daughter. And so that felt completely useless. There is somewhat of a plot of Beetlejuice wanting to still marry the mum, who was the daughter of the previous film, right? And that somewhat, ends up being involved, yet not. It's not the focal thing, but it does come up and ends up impacting what's going on with the daughter. But still, it seemed like a small-ish kind of thing. And I will mention more specifically what that is as I get into spoilers now. So this is your warning, spoilers. Overall, pretty uninteresting film. I don't really recommend it. But okay, let us go into some spoilers. So you remember her, the main character, or the daughter from the previous film, Winona Ryder. She struggles, it feels like, kind of acting in this. And she does not, as I mentioned, play the same character. Jenna Ortega, is that her name? Plays the daughter. Not a real interesting character. The mum is back, and they're at the funeral because the dad died. The plot that goes nowhere is in regards to Beetlejuice's ex-wife, this character here. She's hunting Beetlejuice just for revenge, wants to suck out his soul. That's basically it. And when she ends up finding him, towards the end of the film, she gets eaten by one of those weird worm things. Because when in the first film they walk too far outside of the thing and they end up like on one of the moons of Saturn or some weird thing, and there's sandworms there. Completely random. But anyway, they get one of the sandworms, opens up and, eats her. That's the end of her. Really, really, intriguing stuff. Now, you'd think the film would be focusing around, like I said, Beetlejuice. But no, most of it is actually focused around the daughter. She thinks her mum is crazy for believing in ghosts. The mum is now like a celebrity ghost. She has a talk show, weird thing that's oddly popular. And you don't really see why. It seems like a bizarre show. But anyway, she is being dragged to the house of the first film to be part of the funeral. And throughout the process, she ends up meeting a guy. And that guy, shock horror, ends up being a ghost and wants to steal her life, replace his life with hers. So all of that is focused around Jenna Ortega's character, the daughter. And that's, as I mentioned, the primary plot that's focusing around it. So she ends up kind of being taken to the underworld or afterlife unknowingly. And this causes the mum to, who has been seeing Beetlejuice and hints of Beetlejuice here and there, okay? And she's like, don't say the name. But when the daughter goes missing, she calls Beetlejuice for his help. And Beetlejuice says, I'll help if you marry me like he wants to in the first reason. And that'll bring him into the real world. And so that's his involvement in the plot, really. Like, it's a tangential part of it. And this is where it's like, sure, I'll help, but marry me first. And the way this gets resolved as to how she gets out of the marriage is really flat and also unjustified. So remember that handbook in the first one, Guide to the Afterlife? That was really, really hard for people to understand. Like, people would try and read through it, and it's got so much technicality and bureaucracy in it that they just end up giving up. Well, the daughter, Jenna Ortega's character, she picks it up, flicks it through, finds a page, barely ever, she's only glanced at it once or twice before, but suddenly she can find the exact stipulation somewhere in the book that says, Beetlejuice broke rules by taking the mum into the afterlife, and therefore the marriage is annulled. And that's how that gets resolved. It's like, okay, she's a master of this book that no one could figure out before, but all right, sure, that's how it happens. It came off as very unjustified in that. And I think there's another moment where that happens, actually. I think it's when the daughter is trying to open up a door to the afterlife, something like that. But again, she finds exactly where she needs to look up where the sandworms are. And she opens up a door, and then that's how the sandworm comes in and eats the ex-wife, who comes in at the end where the wedding is to try and soul suck Beetlejuice or something like that. And so that's his involvement. And Beetlejuice, like, he seems oddly helpful in this film, a bit too much, and that felt a bit out of character, because he is the one, he makes the deal with the mum here to save the daughter in the afterlife. And this is like what it felt like. This only starts up halfway through the film, where the plot actually starts to something happen, where a lot of this was all just kind of moody angst. I don't like my mum, and we're at a funeral, and bad art expressions of the funeral, and they're at the house and stuff. Meeting this ghost that is trying to hit on the daughter to trick her into becoming, taking her life is, and all that stuff. And that's all like the long setup to where something actually happens. She's in the afterlife. She's getting, basically dragged away. There's a weird moment where, they go on. They actually show it here. The Soul Train. They go to like a subway that takes you to the great thereafter, the bright light, right? This is how the ghosts kind of cross over, and it's called the Soul Train, and they have a lot of people dancing to jazz music or soul music, and that's the joke. Highbrow humor here, and you can actually see the daughter right at the back here. She is getting dragged by two guards onto the Soul Train, and she's not even resisting. And when they put her on the train, she could just walk off the train, and she just stands there. And it's like, you're not trapped. You could just walk off the train. And it takes her mum to, squeeze through all the, hipsters dancing to soul music to just grab her and pull off the train. And she could have walked off the train. And it's like, you're not making this seem like it's but they want you to feel like this is a desperate thing. She's stuck on the train. How's she getting off the train? I'm like, just walk off the train. And so the resolution of conflicts in this film are really dumb. Really dumb. I can't think of a single kind of clever, interesting, fun, anything that kind of happens in the film. And so, even though she gets pulled off the Soul Train, the bad ghost that wants to steal her life is getting a passport or something to travel back to the real world. And if it gets stamped, that's it. Her life is over. She's trapped in the afterlife, and the bad ghost is there. And so, do you know how this gets stopped? He hands in the passport, and it gets stamped to hand back, and it says, like, go jump off a river or get stuffed or eat crap, I think, or something like that. And it was Beetlejuice that did it. And then he pulls a lever, and the bad ghost falls through a hole in the ground into a fiery pit. And that's how Beetlejuice saves the day. And I was like, I don't even remember, like what is it? You don't really know his influence. I thought he had no, authority in the afterlife. He was stuck in the waiting rooms, and he wasn't part of the bureaucracy, but suddenly he can now reject the passport, send him down. But that's Beetlejuice saving the daughter according to this contract, and now the mum has to marry him. But the thing is, though, they try and run away, and they escape the afterlife with the help of the daughter's deceased dad. Okay, now, which deceased dad? Because there's multiple deceased dads. There is the daughter of the first film's dad, who is now deceased, but that daughter of the first film married a guy, and is the father of the new daughter, and that guy is also dead. But they run into him in the afterlife, and he helps them escape the afterlife, but it's not enough to get far enough away from Beetlejuice, because he disappears and says, no, we're still getting married. Okay? And drags her, and this is actually a scene from her getting dragged to marry Beetlejuice. And that's, there are a lot of other smaller kind of details. This character here has a new fiance who's kind of abusing her, and Beetlejuice exposes him. He, again, we don't know his powers. He suddenly has a truth serum that he just literally pulls out like a cartoon, injects it into the guy's neck, and the guy just, says, I don't really like you, I'm just using you for your money. That's how he gets exposed, through bullcrap magic that again, we don't know his actual powers, but truth serum, I guess, is now just one of them. Before I thought it was just maybe illusion and scary stuff, but okay. That's that. And so, there's the abusive partner in there, and that's how that gets resolved. And the mum, which mum? The mum of the first film, okay, she might appear, again, this character, useless. You cut her for the film, nothing changes. But the other mum, the mum of the previous film, you see her here. she dies and she meets up with her husband in the afterlife and they hug. Okay, those are the main things. But like I said, a lot of just kind of stupid. Plot gets resolved, like, not the conflict isn't even engaging or interesting, or like, like you don't really care. And then the way they decide to resolve the plots is with stupid arbitrary nonsense, and the characters aren't fun or interesting to follow. And like I said, it isn't the most offensive thing where you're getting slapped in the head with stupid constantly, but that could be because I was so disinterested that I wasn't paying enough attention to notice. But overall, film did nothing for me, but it didn't make me like spurg out in rage that it was the worst thing in the world. I wonder what's a worse kind of thing. People being offended by it being so bad. I can be offended by really bad films that I care enough to be offended, or a film that is so you don't care, you care so little about it that you don't even, bother getting annoyed by the stupid. Even though the stupid did kind of annoy because there was stupid in it. There we go. That is Beetlejuice. And let me know if you want to... What do you think in the comments below? All right? Share them with me. Look forward to reading. And as always, stay on watch.